Um, who do you think can step up behind Jahan among your group? And secondly, I want to ask you about a local kid. Where do you see Isaac Lutz figuring in your plans for the 2020 season?
Yeah, good question. And to be honest, I can see quite a few of the guys stepping up. And that's what still kind of unknown as far as who might have a head start over somebody else. But there's some talent in that room. There's some guys in there that really want to be great, and so it's really going to challenge them over this period of time to see who is learning the playbook the way they need to learn it, who is going out there and working the technique that we talk about in order to put themselves in the best position once we have a camp to be able to do that. So, naming one particular guy, I'm not sure that I can do that. I know that I'm excited for the competition in our room to see who, because it's going to be flat out open competition. Guys are going to have to show up. So I don't know the question to the specific answer to that. I just know that there's a few guys that will have that opportunity. In reference to Lutz, I've enjoyed Lutz. He's working hard. I know that. I know he's finding time in a safe place to get out there and work on his craft. I know that he's asked great questions in our meetings. He's been top of the group in the quizzes that we've had. So I am excited to see what he is going to bring to the table in this 2020 season.
Next up is Bob Flounders, Penn Live.
Hi, Taylor. Thanks for chatting with us today.
Hey, no problem.
Taylor, being a former wideout and coaching for a few years now, what would you say are a couple of advantages of playing wideout in an RPO offense? And I know it's early at Penn State for you, but have you noticed anything specific about Kirk Ciarrocca's RPO that makes it a little different from maybe some others?
Well, what I like about it is that we have answers. That's what's pretty cool about this offense. Sometimes you get into these offenses where you have to be so complex, or we put too much on the players to figure out. And so what Coach Rock's offense does is it allows us to put the players in the best position. Now, are we going to do that every single time? No. But the RPO game allows us to put defensive players in conflict. It allows us to put different defensive players in conflict, so they do not know exactly which one we are putting in conflict. And we make them to be a little bit more hesitant. So I know this as a former wide receiver, playing in the slot, having to go block a linebacker who's typically bigger than you. If you get him to hesitate just a little bit, that might be an opportunity for you to be a little bit more physical than you may have if he knew that there is no RPO option, or a pass option. So I think it allows receivers to play faster, especially in the run game when it is, let's say, an automatic handoff where you can be physical. You potentially know that whether it's the outside backer, whether it's a safety, that you can go and be a little bit more aggressive and not have to worry so much about either the force of it or them trying to juke you one way or the other.
Next up is John Petishnock, happyvalley.com.
Hey, good morning, Taylor. Appreciate the time today and hope you and your family are doing well.
What's going on, John?
It's kind of a bigger picture question. Going back to your playing days, how have you seen Big Ten offenses evolve over the last 2 decades? And in what ways does Penn State's offense distinguish itself from what other schools in the conference are doing, even if it may look similar?
This will be my first year coaching in the Big Ten. As a player, back in, between 2000 and 2004, it's kind of like us and Northwestern were doing kind of similar things. We didn't necessarily have the RPO game. We had more of a run plus an add-on where you would pre-snap, look out. Do you feel like you have leverage on a defender to throw a bubble? Do you feel like you have numbers? Now it's kind of evolved to the RPO game, right? Where you truly it's in some regards, it's option football. You are reading somebody and determining what you're going to do based off of his reaction. And so, offenses in general, I mean, shoot, even in the National Football League with what the Baltimore Ravens are doing, it's a little bit more of a college offense and not as similar to what it has been in the National Football League for so long. So it's going to be interesting, to see the different offenses. I haven't seen a ton of the Big Ten offenses over my years being in the ACC and the Pac-12 and some other conferences. So I do know that it has become a little bit more of a passing offense, passing league than what it had been back when I was playing. Back when I was playing, there was Ron Dane. There's some big old dudes in the guys at Minnesota. But what we are able to do now is to continue to have our backs flat out eat. And if defenses want to try to stop our running backs from eating, we'll be able to put those guys in conflict and really make them decide what do they want to stop. And we have some really good backs here, so we should have an opportunity as wideouts to eat as well when defenses are trying to stop, whether it be our tight ends, whether it be our running backs.
Next up is Mark Brennan, Lions 247.
Taylor, what have your initial impressions been of Jahan as a player? I know you haven't had an opportunity to work with him on the field, but obviously I'm sure you've watched a lot of film and talked to him a lot. And this may be a stretch, but do you see any of yourself kind of in him? Kind of that you guys are both kind of the same size, not the biggest guys in the world, but, kind of natural football players.
Yeah, we I talk with Han. We both got bird chests, No, I'm joking. Jahan is much more athletic than I ever was. He can do some things naturally that I was more of a technical skilled guy. He's a guy that has more athletic ability than I have had. And so that's what's exciting about him is that he has the athletic ability, and then to put the skill on top of it makes it a great combination. So you're right. I haven't had a ton of time to work with him, but seeing what he's been doing now, what we did in winter workouts, I really do believe that he is progressing to have, a big season. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the whole group because there's some uncertainty there, and we're challenging. Shoot, I'm challenged. We are challenged, and we are up for the challenge to bring it and to be consistent and to be explosive and to be tough. You're going to hear me say that quite a bit, and you're going to hear my guys talk about that kind of stuff because that's what we want to be.
Next up is Audrey Snyder with The Athletic.
Hey, Taylor, thanks for your time this morning.
Hey.
Wanted to ask you about two guys who came in here together, TJ Jones and John Dunmore. Where do you see both of those guys at right now? Where are the areas where both of those guys can grow and improve?
Florida cats, they like to run, right? That's what they're known for is being out there in the sunny weather, playing football year round. And you can tell when we have our Zoom meetings that they're either just getting done, getting a workout in, or getting ready to get a workout in. And so, we still have to remember that they're still fairly young. And so the progression, and we're in a new offense. So it is making sure that they are doing more than just what we are allowed to do, to make sure that they are ready to go with what to do. So that when we get to fall camp, we're going more into the technique side, more into the how to get things done, how to do it more than we would be than we want to be when they're talking about what to do. We want to be past that stage. And so that's something that I've been challenging all the guys, but specifically TJ and JD, to make sure that they come in here prepared to know what to do so that we can work out all the kinks on how to do it.
Next up is Nevias Wilborn, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Hey, Coach, you actually kind of led into the question that I want to ask. How is it working with all these receivers when you can't see them in full formations going over particularly new offense?
Yeah, we got to come up with creative ways. We really do. Quizzes, whether it be, a semi walkthrough, small groups, ways that we can, in their rooms a little bit, right? See them line up here, line up there, but they're doing a great job of taking the resources that we have while being safe and not being around people to try to get things done both mentally and physically. And so we've been challenged. I have a great GA and Jeff Carpenter. He's been awesome with some of the different vehicles that we can use for quizzes that are interactive, that are time sensitive, and also allows them to see the competition of the other guys in the room, see how fast they're getting it done, and see what the score is. And so we are definitely trying to make our room where we're not just sitting there the entire time and just me having a monologue. It's been interactive, and I know that they've been going out and getting some work done. So we try to talk about some of the technique, and we pull up some film of what we did do in winter camp, because we had some periods of times we were able to do some individual work, and for them to truly work on it and break it down to where you're crawling, you're walking, you're jogging to you're sprinting, so that it has that progression, that they can get their body in a position where they can learn that hard skill, not the soft skill, the hard skill of what we're looking for in regards to wide receiver play.
Next up is Mike Carmen, Lafayette Journal.
Hi, Taylor, and I apologize to the Penn State media for throwing a Purdue question in here. But, I think before you set the reception record back in 2004, Joe Tiller said he was surprised a skinny kid from Washington could catch that many balls. So how did a skinny kid from Washington end up at Purdue and playing for Coach Tiller?
One, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to, some people in my area, in my area, my hometown, it is big time Washington State, big time University of Washington. And so I wanted to do something different. And there was actually a lot of Washington connections on that staff. I mean, Coach Tiller had coached at Washington State. The quarterback coach, Greg Olson, he's from basically an hour from where I'm from. He coached my head coach in college. So there was tons of connections there. And shoot, I mean, I wanted to play in the Big Ten. The Big Ten, you always saw the Big Ten on TV, always. And it did help to have Drew Brees being the quarterback at that particular time. And so it made it, and they were, doing the basketball on grass. And so as a receiver, I was like, shoot, let me go ahead and go over there. And at the same time, I didn't get recruited by Penn State. So Purdue was a good fit for me.
Next up is Donnie Collins, Times Tribune.
Hey, Taylor. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Great. I was wanted to ask you about the two kids who were enrolled early, Lambert Smith and Dotton. What did you see from them in the very early going, and how do you hope they handle the next couple of weeks and months?
Yeah, you kind of, you enroll early to try to get a head start, and they have done that. They've been able to do that in the weight room. They've been able to try to change their bodies with our strength and conditioning staff, and they do a phenomenal job with them. And you can see already just the transformation that they're having with their body. On top of that, I'm excited because they've been able to bond with some of the guys. It's when you come in as a new guy or a freshman, you got to acclimate to the subculture of the room, and you have to bond with the other guys. And so what they've been able to do, they've been able to do that. They've been able to do that now. And so I'm excited to see what Dotton brings to the table, because I know that he's a guy that kind of, when you talk to him off the field, he's kind of calm, kind of very collected. And I'm excited to see him flip that switch on when he gets onto the field, to have a little dog come out of him. Keandre, Dre, he wants it. He has something different in him. There might be some sort of different motivation for him, because you can tell he wants it, and he's willing to put the work in to reach that goal. We talk about the process. He wants the process. He wants the hard stuff. He wants to get coached. And you know what? He has a little bit of that mentality of hating to lose, which is what I love, because everybody loves to win, but who hates to lose? And so whether he's, I talk about those quizzes earlier, if he gets one wrong, especially one that he knows he should know, he gets fired up. He gets fired up. And so they've both been doing a great job. I'm excited to see what they're going to do come this fall camp.
Next up is Greg Pickle, Penn Live.
How you doing, Coach?
Doing well.
Good. Hey, what do you think has separated Penn State's recruiting efforts from other schools around the country? Since everyone's kind of doing the same thing, you guys have had some success of late. What do you think has separated what you guys are doing compared to other schools?
I think, I think right now, this period of time, it allows recruits to really see the real side of a program without the flash. Because sometimes in recruiting, you can get blinded by the glitz and the glamour of, seeing somebody's, fancy words and nice polo and possibly what car they drive up to in practice and all these antics. What I think Coach Franklin has done a tremendous job with this whole staff is he's put people in places in different departments, whether it be analytics, whether it be recruiting, player development, whatever, is I think families and players and recruits have been able to see how legit this program is. And everybody in recruiting talks about, I want to find a place where I feel comfortable. I think that you find that here when you really sit down and you cancel out some of the noise and you say, okay, what's important to me? A great education, a top tier program that has a chance to win a national championship, being around an established program that has an unbelievable history, and a place where you can feel comfortable in knowing that you are going to get developed as a person and as a player. So I think that this is a period of time that families can sit down and really recognize which programs are doing that. And I think that's what has helped us over this last month and a half.
Frank Bodani, York Daily Record.
Hey, good morning, Taylor. Also about recruiting, since you're new to Penn State, can you talk a little bit about what it's been like for you particularly during the virus pandemic, to kind of start recruiting for this school, how it might be? Is there anything different in your previous answer, how recruiting might be different now than it was at your other stops?
You better have your phone charged, right? I mean, you better have some outlets all over the place to make sure your electronics are charged, because right now you're going to be on it quite a bit, whether that be evaluating film, or whether that's taking calls, Zoom calls, whatever it may be. So that's different, right? I mean, all of us right here, shoot, if your iPad goes dead, we're missing out on some questions, right? So recruiting has also changed, and things have happened earlier, right? Some of the guys that in this 2021 board that we have, there's maybe one or two that are in the, let's say, top 10 of my board that are new, that, let's say, we did not know about. But other than that, I mean, once again, Coach Franklin has done a great job of putting people in place that handle, like, looking ahead. And so me getting here, there are some guys that, okay, you look at them and you're like, oh, shoot, these are some really good guys. And now you just build relationships. And so that's what we're doing right now. I do think our recruiting department and our creative department has shot out, they've had to find more creative ways to push out content of what, let's say, our facilities look like, each coach on staff, we've introduced them. So we have been finding creative ways to do these things during this time, but it's still about building relationships, and that's what we've been able to do. And it has been more through these avenues of Zoom or FaceTime or whatnot.
Jerry DePaula, Pittsburgh Tribune Review.
Good morning, Coach. Thanks a lot for your time. I was wondering, you took a new job in January, mid-January, and then 2 months later, the rules change. What's it been like for you getting acclimated to the Penn State system and getting familiar with things while doing these Zoom things all the time?
Yeah, I mean, that has been, it's been a challenge. I think it's been a challenge for all of us. We had, right after recruiting, we had a good time, a good month and a half, 5 weeks before spring break. And then we come back and, we kind of work remotely. So it has been challenging. I'm still, my house was supposed to be done here in about 2 weeks. I don't think it's going to be done in 2 weeks. It's been a transition, right? We've had to change plans, shoot almost weekly, as to when we go up there to actually move into our house. So, but there's a great support group. Other guys are going through it. Other guys are going through the transition as well. Coach Franklin has been extremely supportive in regards to just understanding where everybody's at in the move. And I'm fired up to be able to move into my house whenever that will be. But the town is kind of cool, right? I mean, you go walk down the streets when I was there, and you see there's some cool little shops in there, some cool little places to eat and whatnot. So I'm excited to just do more of that, and especially when the weather's a little bit nicer too.
Next up is Tyler Donahue, Lions 247. Oh, Tyler, you there?
I'm here.
Go ahead.
Hey, Taylor, good morning. Thanks for the insight this morning. Good to hear from you.
Thank you.
Quickly, I do have a football question, but you mentioned not having your house ready. It looks like you're in an RV. Are you in an RV right now? Are you living in one? Or are you just recording in one?
Yeah, I wish I could say that this was like my, my man cave, right? No, I'm actually in the state of Washington right now. I came out here a few days ago. This is where I'm from, obviously. My mom found out some news, so I wanted to kind of be around her a little bit right now. So So yeah, I'm in an RV, man. It does have a shower though, so I am making sure that I shower and whatnot. So I am. You got good eyes.
I'll be honest. I had a few people on the beat texting about the possibility that you were in an RV, so I figured I'd be the one to ask them. Moving to football related here. The depth chart. We're all chomping at the bit for any news about this 2020 team. The depth chart came out Saturday. What ultimately led Daniel George, TJ Jones to join Jahan Dotson as the first team guys on that initial outlook?
To be honest, not a lot. And I told my guys when that depth chart comes out that it is ever changing. And I told the guys that are at the top, do not sit there and beat your chest and be like, hey, I made it. And if you were a third or fourth string guy right now, to also not put your head down and say, dang, I don't have a chance. Because we didn't have spring ball. So, and we have a room that is full of young guys. So we did a little bit of workouts. I mean, some of it of how we kind of structure who's at X and who's at Z, kind of a little bit of that. Yeah, I mean, it is going to be ever changing right now. And I hope that everybody, every single one of them, okay, is really motivated to either keep it where they're at or to change it. And so, yeah, there's not a lot of it's definitely not, I don't even think it was in pencil that it was written in. It might have been in, watercolor ink or something that can possibly disappear the ink that was written in.
Time for a couple more. Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Good morning, Taylor. Thanks a lot for your time this morning. I would say that outside of Hamler and Dotson, that the wide receiver group kind of underachieved last year. As a new coach, how do you work with them to help them realize their potential, especially given the challenges of working remotely?
Yeah, so the wide receiver room, the players that we're talking about the players in the room right now, they did not really play last year, and so I do think a lot of the attention to this room as underachieving, there's a lot of the guys in the room that did not even play. So what I'm approaching these guys with is, I mean, whatever is said about last year's team, but who had a phenomenal year. This is 2020, and we have guys in this room that need to be ready to take the next step in their career and in our development as our room to just produce, flat out produce. Because I'm not talking to JD and say, JD, you know what, last year you just your route against Michigan really wasn't. I'm not saying that to him because he didn't play, right? So there's just a lot of young guys that now have to, after being here a year, whether it be 2 years, they have to be ready. They have to be ready to make a big play.
And last but not least, John Sauber, Center Daily Times.
Hey, Taylor, hope you're doing well. You mentioned most of the guys not playing last year. How does that impact the leadership of the room, and has anyone stepped up from that perspective?
Yeah, so that's, obviously when you've played like Han, you have some credibility to you. So, the natural leader would be somebody like a Jahan, but I don't think Jahan is somebody who likes to, be extremely vocal. I think that he's kind of a quiet guy that likes to do what he's supposed to do. And so are we challenging him on that? Absolutely. But in a way that he's comfortable with. there's guys like Daniel George that some guys look up to because they've seen his work ethic. Guys like Lutz that have earned the respect of the team. I mean, there's guys like Weller who's a pretty smart guy, and so when guys have questions, they come to him. So there's different kind of ways that right now that the leaders have been trying to be formed, and you're right. It is still something that is going to be developed, and I still think that's something that's going to come together, and it's going to come together probably a little bit easier when we do start practicing to see a little bit more of somebody trying to bring the guys together. Who's going to be the second voice or be a reflection of my voice in our room. I do think that we have a few guys that are willing to step up, so I'm excited about that.